Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're putting on our detective hats to investigate a literary mystery that's thousands of years old. When was the book of Deuteronomy actually written? At the center of our investigation is one of the most influential texts in history, the book of Deuteronomy. And for a long time, scholars have been debating its real age. Does it come from the time of Moses or centuries later? I mean, that's a 600-year gap. That's a huge historical puzzle. If it's from 1300 BC, that lines up with the traditional time of Moses. But 700 BC? That's a totally different era of Israelite kings. The thing is, the answer might be hidden in plain sight, not in what the book says, but in how it's built. Okay, so the first major breakthrough came in the 20th century. Scholars started noticing that Deuteronomy wasn't just some random collection of laws and stories. It was actually structured like a very specific, very formal ancient legal document. It was built on the blueprint of what's called a suzerain vassal treaty. Now, this was the standard format back then for an agreement between a powerful king, the suzerain, and a lesser king who was his subject, the vassal. You could say it was the international law of its day. So think of it like an ancient international contract that spelled out the terms of a political relationship. And its very unique, very consistent structure, well, that's the key to cracking this whole case. And this five-part structure was the absolute gold standard for centuries. First, you identify the big king. Then, you list all the nice things he's done for you in the past. Then come the rules, followed by the consequences, the good and the bad. And finally, you call on the gods as witnesses. But here's where it gets really interesting. This legal blueprint wasn't static, it changed over time. And this evolution gives us two very distinct suspects in our historical mystery, each one tied to a specific empire and a specific time period. So on one hand, you have the Hittite model, which was the standard around the 13th century BC. And on the other, you have the later Assyrian model from the 7th century BC. And as you're about to see, there is a crucial, game-changing difference between them. All right, this is the smoking gun. The key to solving this whole puzzle lies in a single piece of the structure, a piece that one empire saw as essential and the other one threw out completely. Take a close look here. The Assyrian treaties from around 700 BC, they completely drop the historical prologue. That's the whole section that talks about the king's past acts of kindness. This is not a small change. It changes everything. You see, the Hittite treaties built the relationship on gratitude. The message was, I protected you, I helped you, so now you owe me your loyalty. But the Assyrians, they based their treaties on pure fear. They massively beefed up the curses section to basically scare the vassal into submission. As one scholar put it, this is a shift where power replaces persuasion. And because of that, the quality of the relationship is totally different. By getting rid of the history of kindness, the treaty becomes a document of force, not a mutual agreement. So, this brings us to the million-dollar question. Which of these two legal blueprints does Deuteronomy's structure actually match? Does it look more like the fear-based Assyrian model or the gratitude-based Hittite one? Well, the answer is right there at the very beginning of the book. Deuteronomy kicks off with a massive, super detailed historical prologue. It spends chapters and chapters recounting all of God's kind acts for Israel, from escaping Egypt right up to their arrival at the Promised Land. And the connection here is just undeniable. Deuteronomy doesn't just have a historical prologue, it's a huge defining feature of the book. That makes it a perfect match for the older Hittite model and a complete mismatch for the later Assyrian one. So when you place Deuteronomy's structure right next to our two historical suspects, the conclusion becomes pretty much unavoidable. Let's look at the evidence. Does it match the Assyrian model? Nope, no historical prologue. But does it match the Hittite model? Yes, a huge historical prologue. Check. The laws flow from that history. Check. And the whole tone is about gratitude and obligation. Check. The literary DNA is a near-perfect match for the treaties from around 1300 BC. Okay, so what's the big takeaway here? Why does any of this structural detective work actually matter? I mean, who cares if it was written based on a document from 1300 BCE or 700 BC? Well, it matters because the structure is the message. By using that older Hittite format, the book frames the entire relationship between God and Israel not as a demand from some terrifying tyrant, but as a grateful, loyal response to a protector who has already been incredibly good to them. That's a difference of over 600 years in historical context and meaning, all revealed just by looking at the document's architectural blueprint. It's a powerful reminder, right? Sometimes to really get a story's deepest meaning, you have to look past the words and actually study the framework itself. The way a story is built can tell you just as much as the story being told.